friends, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I've got a card for you using the adorable Lift Me Up stamp set from Reverse Confetti, and I'll also be using the Under the Umbrella 6x6 pattern paper pad. I've stamped my images with Memento Tuxedo Black ink on some Copic friendly cardstock, and I'm going to be coloring with my Copic markers today. I'm going to start with my two giraffes, and I'm just going to color one on screen since I'm doing them both exactly the same. And I'm using Y11, Y13, Y15, and Y17. I like to color darkest to lightest, so I did start with that Y17 to lay in my shadows. And now I'm blending out with the Y15. I'm going to just catch the edge of that Y17 and blend it towards the center, and I'm also going to do a little bit of shadow on the back of his head and at the base of his neck. Then I'm going to blend out even further with the Y13. I'm going to fill in his whole entire body except for that top spot on his face. And that's where the sun would be hitting the most, so I'm going to color that in with the Y11 for my highlight. And I forgot to finish his ears, so I'll just go back through my darkest three shades for those. I'll use the Y17 and the Y15 for my flame on my candle. For his mane and hooves and ears and the spots, I'm going to color in all of that with just the E57. It's such a small area that really just one shade will do it. I did try to leave a little bit of room for shading on the ossicones, which are the antlers on top of a giraffe's head, but I decided to just fill those in completely as well with that E57. I am going to use both shades on his muzzle. I started with the E55 because I wasn't sure how dark I wanted to go, but I needed that little bit of shadow, so I did add in the E57 and then just blend it upward with the E55. And I did go back in with that E57 just to add a little more contrast at the bottom. So I colored the other giraffe exactly the same, and then I'm also going to color in my cupcakes with the E55 and E57, but I've brought in a third shade, the E53, for just the top cupcake. Since the bottom two are stacked on top of each other, they're going to be cast in more shadow, but the top one would need to have a highlight. Who wouldn't be excited about a stack of chocolate cupcakes? For the bow, I'm using R29 and R39, and since it's so small I can just get away with the two shades. I'm going to use that R39 to add in some shadows where the bow is tied together and towards the back of it, and then I'll just blend out with the R29. And I'm also going to color in one of my cupcake wrappers with those two shades. I'm using the R39 down at the base and then blending upward with the R29, just being careful to color in all those little pointy areas. The birds I'm going to color with B34, B37, and B39, and I'm just shading them both from the back. I'm also going to color in my bottom cupcake wrapper with those same three shades, so I'm kind of doing them at the same time. I will do this second bird off camera since it'll be exactly the same. Only the shadows will be reversed since they're going to be on opposite sides of the card, and I'm imagining that my light source is in the center. The last cupcake wrapper I'm doing with YR04, YR07, and YR09. Starting with the YR09 down at the bottom. I'll blend upwards with the YR07 and also use that shade to color in the bird's beaks. And then I'll just finish with the YR04. And then for the candle, I'm using YG07. And I'll just trim these out with the matching dies. For my focal panel, I've cut down a piece of light blue cardstock with the lacy scallop circles, and then I also did a green with the grassy border that's included in the Nuts About You stamp set. I'm going to pop that grassy border into my Misty and stamp my sentiment. I'm using Lawn Fawn's Jalapeno ink, and I'm just going to stamp that down twice. It's going to be a two-part sentiment, so the front says, "A little birdie told me." And then I'll also stamp the inside of my card. I'm using Lawn Fawn's dough ink for that. And the sentiment that continues is, "It's your day, go wild." And I also used the stack of gifts and another bird. I'll adhere my grassy border down at the bottom with some liquid glue, just making sure to line up those little lacy scallops. And then I can begin to adhere my images. I'm adding some liquid glue to the back of all of those. I'm going to tuck my large giraffe into the grass over on the left, and then I'll have the littler one over on the right. I just love these guys. I think they're so cute. I'm going to add 2 clouds that I die cut using the coordinating dies for the Honey Bear stamp set. And I'm just going to lift up their heads while they're still wet with that liquid glue and tuck the clouds behind. It's one of the reasons I do love using liquid glue, is because you have that little bit of wiggle room to adjust things as needed. I'll add this stack of cupcakes right between the 2 giraffes. And I'll just make sure I have that nice and centered, and then I'm going to add the red ribbon to the neck of the taller giraffe. And I got a little too much glue on the back of that, so I just wiped some of it off on the larger bird and set him down in the grass in the front of the scene, so it'll add a little bit of depth there. And then all that's left is my last little bird. I wasn't quite sure where I wanted him to go at first, but I decided to have him up in front of the grass as well, just over on the far left of the card. And again, just having some of those images in front of the grass and some behind, it just gives the scene the illusion of some depth there. For my card base, I'm using a piece of craft cardstock scored and folded to a standard size card, and then I've trimmed down my 2 pattern papers. The yellow print is 4 by 5 1/4, so it'll just have that nice 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. And then I have the floral print that is 4 1/4 wide by 2 inches tall, I believe. And I'm just going to slide that down and get it in position so that it's peeking out from the bottom of my focal panel. So I'll line that up over top and get that nice and straight, and then just pop that down into place. And that's going to complete our card for today. I finished it just in time as I was losing the light, but there's another peek at the inside. I decided to keep it nice and simple and just let the coloring shine. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I would love to have you. You can also click the notification bell if you want to be sure that my videos always end up in your feed. Here's 2 extra videos you may also be interested in, and hopefully those will tide you over until my next one. Until then, I hope you all have an amazing day. Bye-bye.